Maybe. This is embarrassing me. My internet is embarrassing me. We're live, live, live. Hey, everybody. It's Comic Book Look. I am not opening the show yet, though, and I'm going to pass it over to Sam for a minute to win it
Oh,
because he's got some dapper blue headphones on today. So, Sam, minute to win it.
well, thanks for the compliment on my headphones. I've had them for 5 years.
They're amazing.
The minute to win it today is read indie comics, especially horror ones, because they are awesome and they need more love, especially the one by Mr. Winston here, which we will get more into as we go. But going out there and reading a horror book that's not like the main two or whatever, you get a lot more creative ideas. You're allowed to flourish more as a creator. It's definitely worth checking out, and like it kind of expands your reading ideas, because horror has a lot of like little vestiges in it where you can go one way, you can go another way, and it's beautiful to see what can be scary for one person and what can be scary for another person. So go check out some indie comic books of that are horror, but especially what we'll talk about the soon to be one we're going to talk about here.
All right.
There's your minute to win it.
That was definitely solid. We're at a
Good.
minute 13, Sam. Very concise. So you accomplished the goal there. All right, let's open up the show, and we're going to rip off the Band-Aid here and have a very fun conversation that I'm personally very excited about this on many levels that we'll get into. But without further ado, the best drum roll I can do on this poor glass desk. Hey, everybody, it's a Comic Book Look. It's your boy, John on Demand, a.k.a. fresh off the work assembly line, rocking my Cosmic shirt tonight and feeling great. Joined by co-host extraordinaire, brother from another mother, great from another state, Mark Shelton is here, a.k.a. the begging and boarding bad boy. And, of course, a Comic Book Look's newest hot rod on the lot, Sam is in the building, rocking out comics and sports card hybrid model. Who would have thought? We are
Not
joined
me.
tonight. Well, okay, fine. We are joined tonight by just exceptional human being. I can't speak loudly enough about how awesome this gentleman is. Winston Gambro is in the building, and we are talking about all things Winston tonight. I'm so excited to discuss this book and just to talk about how great you are. So, first of all, how the heck are you, Winston?
My God, I'm doing a lot better after that intro. Thanks, John.
I hear that a lot, and I'm just over here like, C plus, B plus,
No,
I do my best work on a random night, so I appreciate that. Thank you. So before we talk about the book tonight, you're a man of many great things, okay? One of which, if you're okay, I just wanted to call attention to something that's near and dear to my heart. If you guys are cool with it, I just wanted to lift this up really quick. Winston tends to craft amazing things in the form of other show logos. And so Winston is the architect of the Comics by Night logo as well, which is super freaking cool. So shout out to Winston for this. I am so giddy. Our fourth compatriot, Tom, and co-host extraordinaire, a.k.a. the Midwest Highlander, is also with us today. Thank you, Tom. Winston is the architect of the Comics by Night logo. He also did the Bamboo Panel Studios logo, which is Randy, Ashley, and I's comic book venture too. So he's just so great to work with. And when I heard from him that he's working on a project, I said, absolutely, we are totally in this evening. So very, very excited. We all had a chance to review the projects, so that's cool. But before we jump into that, Winston, can you just fill us in a little bit about I just want to learn more. First of all, what is your origin story with comics?
Yeah, so as a kid, I kind of grew up not really even reading comics. I had these big Marvel books basically by hero, and they would summarize all the origins, the major plots, the villains. And so I'm pretty knowledgeable about all DC and Marvel up into like 2006, because that's when the books were published.
I have those exact books.
Yeah,
I know
nice.
what you're talking about. Yeah,
the big white ones.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. So yeah, I memorized those front to back. And then in high school, I had an art teacher who was just really into comics, and I was casually into comics, but he recommended 100 Bullets, which remains one of my favorite series of all time. And I will say, recommending it to a 15-year-old, not the best move, but it really guided my life from there and just made me passionate about comics. From there, I started pursuing creators rather than like the characters, and that's still what I do today. That makes it a more enjoyable reading experience for me. Mm-hmm. And that's basically my origin story.
Dude, that's awesome. All right. And also, I didn't really ask this either, but can you fill in our viewers? We're all in South Dakota except for Mark, who hopefully we'll get him out here eventually. Where in the country are you based out of?
I'm about an hour outside Chicago.
Awesome. That's cool. Well, with that, we learned about the origin of comics. What would you say? So you obviously do amazing logos and branding efforts and stuff. I love your website, by the way, and I love that you were like,
thank you.
that one diner, what? Oh, can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to with the different projects?
Yeah, sure. I just recently started as a designer at Oni Press back in March, so that has been a very exciting career shift. I just working in comics has been an absolute dream. And then from there, I'm constantly freelancing as both an artist and designer. I do write, but just my own stuff. And I'm always working. I currently have like 3 different comics that are currently in different stages. One that I drew and wrote is being published and discussed tonight. One that I just wrote is hopefully being published. And I'm currently drawing another. And I just always try to keep busy. That's my biggest thing.
Dude, heck yeah. And I guess bouncing off of that, I did have a follow-up question. And boys, you jump in and say, John, STFU, if you need to jump in with a question here. But I'm always intrigued by this. And this reminds me a lot of D&D. Do you prefer to DM a game or play in a game? Likewise, with writing and art, what do you find is the most appealing package to you? Like, you're in the driver's seat on this one, right? But when you're doing one part versus the other, is there a preference? Do you like both? Is it anything goes?
Yeah, just for me at least, I prefer art just because I have more experience with it, and a lot of people say make art for yourself, and I'm still struggling with that.
Yeah.
So much so, like, I can kind of tell when my art is good just visually. It's a point where I want to, and it's so much harder to judge, especially your own writing, to see if it's quality. So that's why I prefer art.
Yeah. And then just
can I jump? Do you mind if I jump in?
Hey, I got you.
It's nice to meet you, man.
Hey, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, definitely, and great work. So you did mention Oni Press. I wanted to pause there. That's really cool that you get to do design work for Oni Press. So tell us a little bit about what it does. I definitely see in the credits, where it says this book was designed by, or when you get a trade paperback, a lot of times it's like a new designed by. So is that the kind of thing that you're doing, or tell us what a designer like you does at Oni Press?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because a lot of people think that I'm actively drawing the comics, which I am not. A designer, especially for my company, is in charge of making the book look good. So that means we make the logo, we arrange where the logos will go on the page. So you got the issue number, the actual company, any other miscellaneous things, the credit numbers. And that's just the front cover. Within the actual book, you got to make the credits look good and especially match the story. For instance, right now I'm working on a medical horror, so I'm mixing in some Victorian era medical surgery exams, just something that would match the actual tone of the book. And then kind of the other biggest thing is the back matter. So if the creator has, like, for instance, a letter section or how they made the issue or sketches or any number of things, then we're also in charge of that and just making that look good. And at the end of the day, a designer kind of sounds cool sometimes, but it's really just making everything in a straight line and looking good.
Well, I think it's still very important, right? Because I think we've all came across the comic, right? That is like, this is really good, but you can tell whoever drew this and wrote this didn't maybe know exactly how to, send it to the printer, or this one, these panels are pixelated, or, this front cover's a completely different vibe, or the inside cover, it doesn't work well. And you can kind of immediately see that, oh yeah, like I feel like when I get that, like, that's kind of going to be a cheap book. And then on vice versa, like if I pick up like a real indie book sometimes, or like I'm at a, a alternative, comics, and you pick it up and it's like, maybe the comic's not that great, but it's like put together and like really nice paper, and you can tell like the front and the back match perfectly, and the inside page is right and everything's laid out right. Like that it makes a huge difference. So, hey, man, your job, I would say, is a big one, especially for people like me who definitely pay attention to that stuff. So cool to actually see it. I don't mean to, derail us completely to talk about this, but I do think it's really sweet. I've never talked to somebody who worked for, a company as big as Oni that does design. So then are you using a program that all of the other art, like the artists and stuff, work with? Are you just taking files and then using InDesign yourself to put it together? Or are they giving you something first and then you're straightening it all up? How does that process work?
It kind of depends on the book. Some creators have the things cut up more, like the different assets at different stages. A lot of what we're given is the actual artwork. And if let's say on a letters page, I need their main character doing a cool pose, I'm going to have to cut that out myself rather than they've drawn something special for me.
Sure. That's cool, man. Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show and talking about this.
Oh yeah,
sorry, John. Sorry to derail you.
No. My final question for you was actually just more of a holistic one, and this is kind of a loaded question, and eye of the beholder kind of stuff. But for you had touched upon just art in general, and when you look at a page, you're critiquing yourself, and sometimes that's tricky. So thinking about when it's maybe not your work, and someone else's, what makes a good page of art to you? What do you look for as a reader and viewer?
I think when you get down to the bare bones, it's for any comic, can you tell what's happening on the page? Like it could be the simplest thing. It's like that web comic with only stick figures. It's 4 letters, XKCD or something. But it's the simplest art in the world, but you can tell what happens in every panel, and that makes it a good comic strip.
Okay.
If it doesn't matter like how much you render, how much anatomy you get perfect, but if it's too zoomed in, too zoomed out, weird angles, you can't tell what's going on, then it doesn't succeed.
That's awesome. Okay. No, I always like asking that just to get people's takes on what they look for in a book. And
yeah, I agree with that too. Right. I mean, it's like some of the best artists in the world, unless they got like a really good writer that's kind of telling them how to lay out the panels or what they want to see. Sometimes, their writer, artist, their own work is sometimes not as well. I mean, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but I do think that there is something about having that perfect writer who knows what that artist is capable and writing to that artist's strengths and all that. And I think that's the way to get the best product.
Oh, most definitely.
Heck yeah. Well, this book, there's so much to unpack here tonight. So I know we're all chomping.
Are we talking about the horny house book now?
Is it too late to change the name?
Oh, horny house book.
I was just so thrilled that, first of all, you reached out to us to do this interview. So thank you again.
It's awesome to be here.
And in regards to the book itself, from my perspective, thank you as well. I was telling the guys seconds before you got on that I was going to try to do this thing where I reviewed it as we all hated and leave an awkward space and then say how awesome it was.
That would have killed me. Thanks for not doing that.
So we're not going to do that. We don't want to kill any guests on the air. But I think across the board, we all had some real positive notes out of this one. And so we're really excited just to kind of chop it up with you. I'm going to shut up for a little bit here and sip some water. So I'll let Sam, Mark, and Tom jump in here to the driver's seat for some questions about the book. And I'm going to sip my water.
Well, I'm just joking about the horny house book, but I just thought that would be a funny way to talk about it. I thought it was a sick book as well. Definitely an interesting comment or concept. But if you think that house is not horny, then you guys are reading it wrong, because it definitely is as well. So
it's horny in the emotional sense.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. There could be volume 3, 4, 5, depending on how successful it gets. We may see how horny this is, I feel like. No, I'm just kidding. But very cool for us to get to see this. We got to see a sneak preview. John sent us a link where we all were able to read through it. And I'll tell you, sometimes when John sends me a link, I'm going, do I want to read through this? I mean, how much time do I got? I'm just kidding. John is always sending me great stuff. But this did blow me away. I opened it up right away, and the art was you know, right, it was the first thing that struck me, and the coloring and the layouts. And then I thought it was interesting that I'm very, very specific about geography when I look at a book. And then to see that you guys had a 3D layout for the house to really probably help you understand how the house is going to lay out, how people are going to go into the house, what these rooms look like. I just thought that was so smart. Winston, was that your idea? How did you guys come up with this, putting the geography first to make sure that the storytelling actually lines up throughout the whole entire way? And I always felt like I knew kind of, where I was at or what I was going with. So that was a really cool concept. How'd that come about?
Well, I do appreciate the credit you're giving me. I try to keep the interiors as consistent as I could. I only have a 3D model of the exterior of the house.
Gotcha.
And it's purely for laziness purposes. Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be drawing a haunted house for 132 pages. And houses are hard to draw, especially if you want it to be detailed, if you want the perspective perfect. So I have a friend who's a 3D modeler, shout out to Josh, who I commissioned a beautiful house. I drew it up and I said, can you make this in 3D? And so I could trace it in the panels. I think tracing is kind of a dirty word, but it's a tool at the end of the day. And that's really all it was. I just wanted it to be consistent.
Yeah, no, I think it was a smart move, and it's a way to keep the whole entire piece professional. So great job with interiors, because I just assumed that it was like a full rendered home so that you could always understand where the characters were. Me thinking way too much into it. Sorry about that.
No, next time I'll do that. That will definitely make drawing backgrounds a lot easier.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm going to jump in here. One of the things that was really becoming to me was just overall, I'm a huge fan of just good environment. And so the strong focus, not just on the characters themselves, which PS had a lot of detail to them and I adored it. But I love the things going on in the background, the wallpaper, the molding along the archways and stuff like that. I mean, this is HGTV level right here. I mean, we're giving Property Brothers a run for their money. We don't have time for that. When we could be reading this. So I love that. I love that the art really told me what was going on. The dialogue it just complemented it. Great. There's been so many books where it's like an essay on each page, and with this you didn't need that. I mean, you let the art sing, you put the bubbles where they needed to be, so that way we could see the key elements of the page. These are all things I'm learning as I'm working through our first comic, at Bamboo too, and so I'm a huge geek with lettering now, and I'm loving it. The other thing I wanted to call out was the house. I don't want to spoil. We're not doing spoilers, you guys, tonight, but the only spoiler I got is that it's awesome. But I love the lettering of the house and how it talks and how it's just, the lettering is just on the page. It's not in a dialogue box. And to me, that's really breaking out of a mold that we see a lot of. There's so many books that do narration in the rectangular box on the top left or top right. And you're like, nah, it's just part of the page. Solid font selection, easy to read, very distinguished, and it just expresses. One example, if I can quote one page, half page, there's two characters kissing, and the house says "just watch" off to the right, and "suffer" is put right over them. And to me, it really adds that weight of how house is feeling. And so it's things like that where I love that you're able to express these things with just a Thanos snap like that, And so, well done. Well, thank you.
I really appreciate that. I put a lot of work into this. I'm so glad you're noticing. That is exactly the emphasis I was going for on that page. Thank you so much.
So definitely loved it. All right, Sam, Mark.
I actually was going to add on a little bit to what they were referring to, because I've probably read this about 5 times over and over again.
Oh, geez, I don't even think I have.
It's because what I like about it is because it's a quick read, but it has a lot of substance to it. Mm. If you go through that and you read just maybe even that first page, when people go out and get this book and they read it, they'll be like, only about 9 words are put in something in this whole page, but there's a lot of story told within it, because not only is there, pictures to go with it, but those but it's literally all like where the words are being placed, how the coloring of it is done. It's like, even though there's like, it's actually a relatively fast read and there's not like tons of text explaining the origin of the house. It's all about just telling you a story throughout with the little amount of words, but all the story is in the art itself. Like all the emotion of the story is there, and which I have to commend you on, which is I find it really well done. And
Thank you.
Personally, I know some people they think it's kind of goofy to like do the narrator is not a human, but I love that idea, like the perspective of something that is not a human, like when and trying to find like personifying what this house would be thinking if the characters are what the characters they are doing and whatever like that. And so it's very interesting to see like what would a house like say? Would a house be possessive of something? Would a house like not like a certain thing? Like would a house not like the paintings you put in it? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so like I really liked what is said with how little is said, which I find is very interesting. So I guess to segue into the question is how did the story come about? Like where did this idea hatch, and how did it go from idea to writing to paper to all the way to publishing? So like what was the process of that?
I think I was thinking about haunted houses one day, or like haunted house movies and that trope, and it's almost always like a ghost within the house or the resident died within that house, and it just hit me like what if it's not a ghost? What if it's the structure itself? And then kind of going from there, I thought it'd be interesting that, like you were saying, it becomes possessive and falls in love with the person that lives there. So then I was just building like this person wouldn't really know, and not to spoil where the story goes, especially in coming issues, but I had a reason why it's a 6-issue miniseries, specifically 6 issues, and sorry, yeah, not making a lot of sense, but basically from there I locked in that premise. I just started scripting it out one day, breaking down the issues, breaking down the pages, and just started drawing.
Hell yeah. So how long did it take you to put together this first issue? I mean, you obviously, and did you have it, do you script out your entire script? Have we said the name of this?
I don't think we have. It's Haunted House, okay. A Love Story.
I'm just, of course, I just making sure. I jumped in 3 minutes late, so hopefully we.
No, I don't think we did.
Okay, so yes, Haunted House, A Love Story, #1, written and illustrated by Winston. That's what we're talking about. Sorry to bury the lead like that.
Go pre-order it at your local comic book shop.
Yep, exactly.
Please.
So how long did it take you to put it together? And then do you have a full script, or because you're the artist too, do you get to just kind of, say, I'm going to kind of write this and draw this at the same time and we'll see where it goes? Or are you fully scripted out so that when you sit down and draw, you have something to go? How does that work out?
Yeah, even though I'm drawing it, I still fully script, just because I think the more slack on the chain I give artist me, the crazier it can get. Things can get lost. I can forget where I was, because often I'll be months between the script and me actually drawing it. So I'll forget what I meant by this specific scene, this specific reference. So yeah, it's extremely tight scripts. And then I would do it an issue at a time rather than doing all 6 issues. I would like write a full script, rewrite it, then draw the full issue, and then reset it 6 more times rather than
gotcha.
Write all 6. That's just my personal process. I wanted because usually by the time I would finish writing, I wouldn't want to write for another 3 months. So I'm like, all right, I'll draw, get on my system. Like, oh, I don't want it. I'm now sick of drawing. Let's go write.
Sick, man. Yeah.
And then
great job.
Oh, thank you. And then at my quickest, I was doing it about an issue every 2 months, 2.5 months. I was doing a page roughly every 2-ish days. It depends, what's going on the page. Like, because I could trace the house, it was a pretty quick draw. But if I'm drawing 5 people doing an action several times in 9 panels, that's going to take a week.
Yeah, totally. And that makes sense. And then for that, if you're, finishing a page in 3 days, which is pretty crazy. Are you going through and breaking it up again even further? Like, so you're going to pencil or, or whatever, you're going to lay out, and then you're going to, do your ink and then add color. Are you doing all that, or are you doing color right away, finishing the page all the way through?
Yeah, I would do each page individually. I do think it is probably quicker to do all pencils, all inks, all colors. I've heard like Rob Guillory, who does Chew and Farmhand, does that, and it really sped up his process. But just personally, I have a Patreon going, and part of my reward is my rewards for the patrons is as soon as I finish a page, I upload it. And so I need to kind of get them like the pages every 3-ish days versus a full issue.
That's pretty crazy. So to get even though it's taking you 3 days, really it's like you're drawing that in 1 day, you're inking it in 1 day, and you're coloring it in 1 day. And if you did it like that, it's like that's still hella fast. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I like to stay busy, and I don't have much of a social life.
Well, you get to hang out with us on the internet on Wednesday nights. Come on by anytime.
Hell yeah.
I had another question just on actually a couple of questions here. First, there was another page that really stood out to me. And before I jump into that, I just wanted to kind of talk about color in general. Working with you on the logo builds, you always were so quick to really convey the brand that I or Randy or whoever was after with color options, hearing what we wanted and being like, here's 8 million options for you to choose from. So with this comic being you, is it easier to shop for color for you, or are you just like, oh geez, like I could go 8 million directions on this page? What does that look like?
Yeah.
How are you as a customer for you?
I usually have an idea in mind for the colors.
Okay.
I do play around a little. You get like 2 or 3 panels in this that are like the house vision, which are almost like Predator heat vision. And so I would mess with different like gradient maps and constantly click in and out. But for the most part, I kind of did have a visual. Like I always use red and orange for when striking scenes. I use the reds, especially for horror, the blues for night. So I was locked into some templates, and later for an issue all about bargaining, like a lot of it is green because money, and I thought that was cool. But yeah, for the most part, I walked in because I think color is a really important thing, and I always have a image in mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's you answered my second question, which was the yellow, blue, red sets of panels, and you answered that right away. So thank you for that.
The house vision.
Yep, the house vision. Yeah, it's just, I was getting that vibe, and I'm like, I'll ask it and see. The other thing I just wanted to lift up on the color note then is actually just towards the end of the book. So the to be continued page being maybe a little more formal with that pattern, and then the back cover in contrast is just like this ragey sky with trees at the bottom. I adore that contrast, and I think that to me is very thematic of what happened in these pages. So I love detail like that, and so I'm so glad that you use the space on there to really rock it cover to cover. So.
Well, I'm not. Once again, I think you're giving me too much props. The back cover is just a continuation of the front cover.
I love it though. I mean, it's just,
thank you.
It's just that blood red sky. I don't know. You know me. I like all the scurry stuff. So
yeah, and it just gives it that Victorian feel. I think it's very cool how it is a period piece, right? So it's like the whole entire vibe comes from this period. I mean, what are you doing in order to get yourself into that period? Are you like watching old movies? Or you reading books? Or are you just saying, yeah, I know what's happening in circa 18 whatever is happening there?
I just did a lot of research, a lot of fashion research, especially all the interiors. I'm a horrible interior decorator, so I would have no idea what the furniture looks like, what the houses inside would look like. So it was just a lot of Googling and gathering reference of what each interior would look like, as well as all the costumes. And I guess I can say each issue kind of takes place in a different time frame, so I had to do this each issue every time.
Oh snap! Yeah, that's right. Because we were jumping
That's cool.
25 years. I think is it. Oh, I didn't mean to spoil that at the end. I think. Sorry,
No,
guys.
fine.
By my bad, Johnny. No, we're not giving spoilers. That's
25 years. What direction?
Yeah, and did I say
out.
years? I meant centuries. Okay.
Cyber haunted house.
I think tight.
Oh, yeah.
I'd read that.
Issue 7. There you go. Boom.
Well,
I
that's
actually have a question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So actually, kind of like it tailors into my like a question that I have for people who are writers and who like that who avidly like storytelling, is no matter what you do as a writer, you're going to have to Google some weird stuff.
Oh yeah,
because you're just gonna be like, I don't know what that is, so I'll have to Google it. And being one myself, I've had to Google like some like things that I'd be like, am I going to be on a watch list for that if I look that up? And so I'm like, I'm just going to assume so we don't have to search that one. So what is the strangest thing that you had to look up for this story or a different story? Because I just find that to be fun as a writer myself.
I've had to look up various injuries for different comics. Anytime you have action, you have to draw injuries, and that's not fun.
No.
For this one, I had to, there's a mysterious burned man, and so I had to look up burn victims. Also not a great time. Don't recommend that. I think I ended up finding a good reference of someone using latex makeup, so it was easier. Yeah, gosh, come back to me on that, because that's such a great question.
All of a sudden you start getting some more ads about Neosporin.
One other thing that I like to learn more about too is just the team here. So just looking at everyone that's involved with it, tell us about how the team came to be for this project and how everything worked together.
So there's me, the writer artist, and then Josh, who I worked with and am friends with in real life. Over COVID, he taught himself Blender and is just a master of all things 3D. So when I realized I didn't want to have to draw a house from my mind a zillion times, I was like, hey, Josh, can you build me a house? And he's like, Winston, I'm not a carpenter. And I'm like, no, I meant in Blender. Then I have my flatter, who I think I just met through Reddit. He was just advertising his services. He was just a great guy named Rob, who's, if anyone doesn't know what flatting is, I don't know if like big comic fans listen. Flatting, it means they fill in your line art with colors, like rather than just black and white, they actually fill in the gaps, and it just speeds up the coloring process. So he would usually have a page for me done in like 12 hours, which is ungodly fast, and the book wouldn't be done nearly as fast. And then the last person, when I was browsing for royalty-free Victorian patterns, she had a bunch of Victorian patterns on her DeviantArt, and I reached out and I said, can I use these? And she goes, can I get credit? And I go, okay.
Hell yeah, you can.
Yeah, thanks for the patterns.
That is fantastic. That's so cool, and I love just learning how teams come together, like that, because every team definitely has a story, and it's so funny. Resources like Reddit, Instagram, that's how Randy and I met our artist and colorist.
Oh, nice.
Was our colorist we met through a very old Reddit thread, and reached out to him, and he said, sure, I'm interested, and here, we're 6 pages colored so far, 7th on the way, and he's doing great work. So
congrats. That's awesome.
It's so random, just how the team can come together like that. So congratulations to you, though. This is just holistically, it's just such a fun read, and I am absolutely getting a physical copy. The other thing too, though, is that now I need to head out your way so I can get it signed, because it would be so great to meet you in person. But no, from my perspective, this is right in my vein. We are definitely going to have more conversations on both the comic book look and comics by night coming up. So that'll be a lot of fun. Cool. Mr. Mark, do you have any thoughts on the book that you wanted to throw in?
Oh yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was wanting to know: is there any like musical influences that influenced writing this, or is there any music you would recommend that we listen to while reading it?
Kind of an odd cut. I'd say maybe the BioShock or BioShock 2 soundtracks. I'm
Yeah,
a
those
hell
are
yeah.
good. Those are good.
I am a huge fan of those games, and I'd say the soundtrack is a lot of it is ambiance mixed with just old timey, I guess, pop music, and I really think it matches the tone I'm going with.
Heck yeah.
Very cool. And any type of like motivation or inspiration that you draw out of from like reading or movies that you watch. I was picking up like some like Fall of the House of Usher vibes, like Edgar Allan Poe.
Maybe a little bit of Haunting of Hill House. I know I had watched that shortly before I started writing, so I think I just had haunted houses on the brain.
Yeah. Cool.
Just working at the comic book store here, this book is available for pre-order, requesting it at local comic book stores. And so is this going through a publisher?
Yeah, this is going through Blood Moon Comics, so yeah, you can
That's
just
awesome.
walk into your comic shop, say, give me Haunted House Love Story. It's in Blood Moon Comics. It's in previews. They'll know what that means.
Awesome. So Sam recently read an offering from Blood Moon that came out last week. What's the title?
God. It's called, I believe, I might be pronouncing it wrong. It's called the Duchesne Smile.
Oh yeah, that looked awesome.
That.
And that knocked Sam off his feet, dude. Like,
I read it at like 9 at night, and I have a very active imagination. And as I'm reading this, I'm just getting chills on my back because it's probably like I can do vampires, I can do like gothic horror stuff, like curses and stuff. But everything about that book was, this is probably something real that has happened and probably happened before, and it's not too super out of the ordinary, and that was terrifying to me.
Gosh.
And so you check out that book too if you want to, not sleep at night.
What's the scariest comic you guys have read?
That one.
Oh wow,
because
that's a good blurb on the cover.
I had read a lot of them before that, so I was like that and a Noctera book. Otherwise,
okay.
Ooh, fair.
Otherwise, it's that one.
Nice.
Jumping in here on behalf of Sam, Austin's checking in. Sam was creeped out, but I actually loved it, so he had a chance to read it too.
Nice.
Nice, John. What's the scariest book? I love that question, Winston. What's the scariest book you ever read, Johnny?
So Sam lifted this up as a show idea for October coming up. I don't know if I have a good answer for it because I'm just now I'm dipping my foot into the horror genre, right, for my upcoming stream. A lot of the books that I purchased for the stream I haven't read yet. That's the point of my channel. It's a read and react. And so in terms of proper, horror literature, from what I haven't read a lick of it yet. In terms of books that have scared me, I mean, this is coming from a guy that reads X-Men, Power Rangers. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know my repertoire, Tom. Come on.
I'm with you. That's what I'm saying.
I'll have to think on it.
Yeah, I mean, even me. I mean, I read a lot of horror books, I feel like, but am I ever really scared? Probably not. I more just like it. I guess probably the scare or the closest to that is reading Ice Cream Man. They're one shots and they don't necessarily scare you, but they make you feel uncomfortable. They leave you with a sick stomach sometimes, or like, feeling depressed, or like, whatever. A lot of different emotions that come from Ice Cream Man. So I would say like the thing that I would be scared of the most or get the most emotional reaction from is Ice Cream Man.
Heck yeah. I'm like,
Mark, do you have a scary book?
I read like a ton of like scary books. Even like just today, even read this Cauldron of Horror. It was really good. But I'm kind of like Tom. Nothing really scares me. But I think there has been times that I've gotten like those grim fairy tales books, and then there's just like some images in there. It's like, oh, dang, that's like nightmare fuel. But nothing like stands out as, dang, that like really scared me.
Yeah.
Only one I can even think of that has ever scared me is Twin Peaks, the TV series.
Yes! See, that's the same thing that Ice Cream Man's doing, right?
Yeah.
It's like you don't even know why you're necessarily scared. It's not like there's a monster. It's just like there's a foreboding feeling of distrust and things are wrong. I know exactly what you mean by being afraid of Twin Peaks. Like when I was little and I caught like an episode of Twin Peaks, I was like, dude, I am fucking freaked out. And I mean, I love Twin Peaks, you know, but that's the exact type of feeling I get from, or I can get from some issues of Ice Cream Man, where it's just like, it's not necessarily you're like scared of a monster or of like getting your head cut off. You're like scared for existence. I don't know, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you, on the comic front of Twin Peaks, have you heard of Hobtown Mysteries?
I've not.
So it's basically Twin Peaks meets Nancy Drew.
Oh.
So it's this amazing series, and full disclosure, it is coming out through Oni Press, but I was a fan before I started working there.
Yeah.
and it's about a club of high schoolers who solve mysteries, except like the biggest mystery they've ever solved is like the principal's missing keys. But then suddenly all the men in the town start going missing, and there's all this weird Twin Peaks stuff, like a tiny little man dancing that no one else sees. It is very unsettling, and I can't recommend it enough.
Cool.
I pick up almost everything Oni Press does. So yeah, I mean, I'll be reading all of your stuff.
I love you, Tom.
Yes.
There you go.
You know,
So I see what's going on here. You guys are all like, oh, nothing's actually ever scared me. So we're saying Sam's just a big old scaredy cat. That's what we're doing. That's what we're saying here. I see.
You know, I will jump on the train though, because the term unsettling was thrown out there, and that is a better way to approach my current collection. And with that, I would have to say that a moment that I found just really like I would never want to be caught in a dark alley with this guy is like when Joker was wearing his face stapled to his face.
Oh, that is an unsettling
that was
arc.
a new level of unsettle for me.
That was like a Joker who was like, I'm not saying any more jokes, guys.
Right. And so that to me was kind of a dark black light bulb moment for me. So I would that is probably one thing that comes to mind. I've been checking my collection here just to see if there's anything else, because there have been some different offerings over the years, but overall I read just a ton of Marvel, so yeah, that's definitely not scary.
Yes, someone mentioned I believe Sam mentioned Noctera earlier. When Scott Snyder wants to write horror, he writes horror. Like I was going to jump
Nemesis issue. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, I haven't read his Nemesis.
The Nemesis, well, it's the Noctera Nemesis issue
special.
Oh, okay. And it's basically the origin of why it's all dark.
Oh, cool.
And it's very Eldritch horror kind of style, which kind of terrifies me, but I love it at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to give that a look then. Yeah. When he was trying to be spooky, my God, like severed parts of his Batman run, like John was saying. The Wake, it's basically a horror movie set underwater.
Even American Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
It gets there. I do have a question about about your book though, particularly, that I think needs addressing is how'd you go about deciding what your characters were gonna be like? Like, how did you go like, this is how this person's gonna be, and are any of these kind of like fragments of you in the characters, or are these kind of like these are the types of characters I want to talk about, and these are the characters that make sense to why they'd be in this house or out of the house. So how did you come up with your characters, I guess?
I think with anytime you want a character to have a big emotional arc, you have to put a little bit of yourself into it. At least I do. Not every action by any means, but sometimes it really helps to make them more three-dimensional if you know it's what you believe, because chances are someone else would believe the same way you do and would act the same way you do, so they'd see themselves in the character. And then for how I kind of chose the characters, at least in the first issue, it's kind of about loneliness and a lonely man finally finding someone else that he can relate to in an unforgiving world. And so I just wanted to have this sense of isolation within the character, and that's the foundation he was built on when I made him.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, like, I certainly like felt that pretty well, because I mean, I think we all during the pandemic had like those moments where we were stuck in this house and we kind of feel like that the walls are almost talking to us, because that's the only like interaction or just like stimulation we've had is just the walls that we see. So like it kind of gave me some thoughts of like kind of put me right back into that like I stuck in my room. I have to stay in my room, and I'm just gonna get a hand with my meal handed to me. And so I just kind of felt like that's what the character of Sebastian was kind of feeling a little bit. So I personally was like, yeah, this is kind of taking me back a few memories here. So I applaud you for that.
Well, thank you. And I'm just now realizing I work from home and I don't get out much. So, maybe it was taken from real life. Some days I'll go to bed and be like, oh, I didn't speak to anyone today.
Yeah, do you have any like good friends whose wives are like constantly jealous of you at all?
Yeah.
Or no, okay, never mind. That's unrelated, guys. So.
What's your house saying about you?
Tom is going to kill me for this one, but this is definitely one that had me on my toes. It delighted me so much. This one did come from Vault Comics, and this is something that Tom and I both enjoyed, and that is the Autumnal series. That was fun. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like her man friend's going to the forest. Is he going to be okay? And I that to me was like watching a movie on TV where it has the jumpy elements to it, just because they make such likable characters and then things happen to them. And so I thoroughly enjoy a good theme. I love that it was autumn and that they made autumn
the
leaves
orange
dreadful.
and reds are amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah. So that I can't believe I forgot about that. Yeah, that's definitely one of the gems in my collection. So
yeah, I agree, John. That's a great horror book, or horror-esque book or whatever.
Esque.
Cool, guys. Well, comic book Sabbath. Did anybody go to the comic shop today? I don't mean to derail this conversation, Winston, but I do like to hear if the boys picked up any good gems as well while we're talking.
I did.
We were both at work there, so we definitely were there.
Oh, you guys both worked there. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry, boys. I've been so goddamn busy this week. I probably won't get in until hopefully tomorrow or the next day. So I haven't actually picked up. Mark, you pick up?
Oh yeah, just what I wanted to highlight: Orson Welles' Warrior of Worlds. It's like he lives a double life, and he's like this intergalactic warrior. It's like
Orson Welles book. Why didn't I pick that up?
I don't know. Was it at Rainbow?
I had like 2 seconds to pick my books up, man.
Sam was busy today.
Yeah, I wanted an Orson Welles book. Come on, man.
It's good, dude.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I picked up
or Sam?
I picked up the Wiz Comics reprint of the first Captain Marvel Shazam story. I thought that was, I wanted to give that a read because his story is such a weird one, because he's literally like just a little boy trying to make some money, and this weird like guy who's like completely no face. He's just a shadow man. Goes like, go to this place, and the kid just believes this man, this like spooky man, and then it's like, then all of a sudden a wizard comes out of nowhere and goes, I will give you wonderful power. It's like, it's so much stranger danger that is not. It is not like this kid is like way too trusting. I would be like,
if I saw such a weird comic.
Yeah, dude, I love that, right? Because you can picture that other scenario where that is not telling the truth, and that is actually just like some very bad man with a van in a cage in his basement.
Now that sounds like a Scott Snyder comic.
Yeah, like if they really want to darken up Shazam, just have Scott come back.
Where's my Black Adam sequel?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that got that. I picked up a tray, like a set of old Shadow comics, because I'm a weird pulp reader. I love those pulp heroes very well. Yeah, I'm excited to read that. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I also went to the shop. Winston, did you go to the comic shop today by any chance?
Not my local store. I've got some friends at another one, so I stopped in. I checked out Dwellings, which is the new Oni book. It's a horror book.
Ooh, okay.
And I happened to have designed it, but I was once again a fan before. Yes.
I told you I pick up everything Oni does, so that's, of course I have that.
I was a fan before my first day of work. At our company meeting, the CEO says we just picked up this book called called Dwellings, and I was like, my God, that's one of the. I just read that 2 months ago. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, and to Rainbow, John, put it right above me. walked me over to the wall and says, you should probably get this. And then other John came over to me and said, it's already in your box. Here's one. So they definitely knew that it was right up my alley too. So yeah, very cool.
It's an amazing book. Like the amount of work the creator Jay Stevens put into it is crazy. Like he drew fake vintage ads for every single page. He hand lettered the whole book, which I can't believe.
So sick, dude. I love hand lettering so much. I'm a big fan. The books, I haven't been to the shop, but the books I just got in the mail this week are Grixley's. So we got Grixley 62, Grixley 63 or 61, and Grixley 63. This is by Nate McDonough, my favorite like indie comic creator, just making the best comics around. And they're usually just all his comics are about him going and comic hunting. So it's just a comic book about comics and the people that work at shops and the people he finds and digging through bins. But it's absolutely like they're the best comics ever. And if you ever, you can't buy them at through distribution or anything like that, but if you ever do see them at a shop, they're $3. So you got to just scoop them up when you can because they're super cheap. I just have them so like I'm on subscription, so he sends them to me in the mail once we get like 3 of them together. So yeah, super stoked. And I just wanted to cover this one is Grixley spelled wrong, and he actually it's like a Black Mirror Grixley where he has a whole new artist come in and do a book like Grixley, like in his own style, starring him. But then like monsters come and stuff, and in Nate's books, there's never any monsters. The only monsters are maybe like cops. Like here on the back is like the Punisher and a cop like making out. The enemy of my enemy is my boyfriend. Really good stuff like that. But yeah, Grixley, definitely check it out. Follow Nate McDonough on follow Grixley Cola, I think is what it is on Instagram, but you have to. And then I did want to point out that Mark, you just got Werewolf Jones, man. Let's see that.
Yeah, man. Oh, I've got it right here. Actually, this was really awesome. This was the summer
deluxe
annual. Really freaking good. Just wild, crazy, like a family of werewolves, very dysfunctional. But at the same time, if you ever watched Married with Children, how they were like a dysfunctional family, yet they had each other's back, and that's exactly what the Werewolf Jones family is.
Dude, that's so sick that you picked that up. Those guys are so good. Simon Hanselman and Josh Pettinger, those dudes. There we go.
Megan Mogg.
Megan Mogg. Simon Hanselman is he's the man. I feel like him and Josh Pettinger, those guys in Josh Jubinville, all those guys are just so good. They're doing like the best work ever. So cool to see them work together on stuff. That's like I feel like that's the coolest thing in comics right now is that Werewolf Jones book. So sick pickup. I got mine ordered. It just hasn't come yet. Nice work, Mark. Love to see it.
You'll dig it.
Woo. Heck yeah. My pickups are not nearly as exciting as that, but they are to me. So first of all,
exactly, John.
I have this captivating read. It's a horror comic sketchbook, and it's all blank.
Oh my god, it's a snowstorm.
I'm taking this to every con now, and I'm going to get something spooky drawn in it. I'm so excited to build this.
Oh, that's cool.
And have fun with it.
That'll be a great sketchbook.
And then
you have to get Winston to draw something in there for you.
That's right. I picked up.
If he wants to, I guess.
13,
I'd love it. I mean, I don't want to like 15. Make
him. This is Supernatural Thrillers featuring the Living Mummy. So more ammo for my channel coming up. So very excited about that. And on the current side of things, I didn't pick up too terribly much, but I got to give it up to Alpha Flight, my team. They're back for a limited issue run. And then the last
throwback cover, John? Is that a throwback cover? It kind of looks old school.
Where's my puck head at?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go.
But I'm really excited for this Bryn Mawr issue number 2. Issue 1 was so much fun. This is from IDW, but it was a really cool story, and so I'm excited to jump right into this. So I had to pick this up too. So I love trying new things, and it's just getting me in the spirit for October. So that's right. Completely unrelated. I don't know if everybody saw this or not. There was a media leak. There was a breach. I don't know if we had a chance Tom,
Are you going to share
I
the
don't know.
screen?
I'm going to
John?
share the screen. We have been announced as appearing in Deadpool 3.
Oh my god.
This is completely fictitious, but
I literally
wanted to
took that photo 2
So
days
anyway.
ago, man.
John, I love that.
Literally
you got
2 days ago.
And
I
Mark
hate
is
that.
just
Mark's mustache looks so manly and good, and mine looks so, so 14-year-old-ish.
Hey Tom, I look like I'm definitely approving of both of the mustaches, though. Look at me.
And then John, he gets to pick his cover like he's on
Yeah.
the fucking cover of an album, or like
Yeah.
he's goddamn Brad Pitt. And then he does me and Mark dirty with our goofy pictures.
So I just wanted to lift that up as appropriate. But yeah. So congratulations.
But seriously,
Yeah.
set has been super hectic. Ryan Reynolds is a real pill. TJ Miller canceled, so everybody's still talking about it, not bringing the bartender back for the third one. But I'm loving it. Sam has gotten to become really good friends with Ryan Reynolds. Mark's gotten to become really good friends with Ryan Reynolds' wife, if you know what I mean. And it's all been a really fun time on set.
Boom, you're here to hear first.
I can't wait. Welcome to the MCU, guys.
There you go.
It's been so long. And
I have some joke about the MCU going on for so long and casting so many actors that eventually is this going to be like the draft? Like every American has to put their name in, and it's being like, oh god, I'm sorry, I can't go out this weekend. I'm playing the third Ant-Man or something.
I don't want to play Eric O'Grady. He's a jerk.
Well, holy smokes, you guys. Great discussion tonight. We can't do a formal review of the book because it isn't released yet. So thank you again for letting us check out this book. And I am absolutely getting the physical copy. And then we are absolutely going to get that signed in person and then take millions of selfies together in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about that. But I will say this, across the board, we all picked up some really special notes from it. And this really is so fun, and it just means a lot to me personally, having worked with you in a different capacity, to see you crush it in this medium and to get involved in the industry. And so literally kudos to you, Winston, and looking forward to, of course, working with you more in the future. I heard Randy hit you up for some more logo work and stuff, so definitely we just think so highly of you. So thank you for all that you do, and I'm just excited to see what's next for you. So,
everybody go out and go to your comic shops and pre-order A Haunted House, A Love Story. Definitely get that, because you're not going to regret it. You're going to want to get every issue after that.
Yep.
And then they're going to have to have Winston make a bunch more.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when you do get your copy in hand, come back and rewatch this, and that's going to make a heck of a lot more sense with what we're talking about for some of those
references. Winston, shout out your Patreon. You talked about it. Go shout it out.
Yeah, patreon.com/Winston Gambro. It's where I post all my pages as I draw them. So if you need a sneak peek or just like hearing me, I'm there. And then I'm at Winston Gambro on all social media. That's my website too. I'm the only Winston Gambro on Earth, so I'm very easy to find.
That's easy. That's nice.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight, Winston, and just for sharing this with us. And with issues 2 through 6, you are more than welcome to come back on the show. We would love to have you and lift up these projects. I'm just over the moon about this. So congratulations to you. And I can only imagine how it'll feel once you have like the physical in your hand. You're going to be like, yes.
Can't wait. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. This was so much fun. Great talking to all of you.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Before I shut it down, does anyone else have anything else they want to lift up?
I did draw this picture of Sam while we were doing it today.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes. Please post
Sam,
that in the group.
I'll send that over to you, buddy.
I need that. Yes.
But it was very fun.
Oh, I've never been more lovingly created, and I love it.
That's amazing. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in tonight. And a special shout out to Winston. We are Comic Book Look, proudly sponsored by Rainbow Comics. If you're in the Sioux Falls area, stop by 42nd in Minnesota, preferably Wednesday through Saturday, so you can see Sam and I. If you're in the Lincoln, Nebraska area, we got a store down there too. Taylor and the team are happy to help you out with your comic book needs. on the social medias. You can see our handles and our names. And Mark is @Mark C. Shelton 1. Did I get it right? Do I still have a
On
job?
Twitter.
That's right.
Mark C.
Boom.
Shelton and everything else.
All right, there we go. And collectively, we are @Sign a Comic Book Look. We'll be back with you next week for sure. And Sleepy, we love you. I gotta lift this up. Sleepy Reader. Whoops, too late. Sleepy, that's what the replay's for. It's fine.
You snuck in.
They are
You snuck
sleepy.
in.
It's okay. Yep.
We miss you.
But-
Portland rules.
Sleepy, we got to get you on the show again soon too. Sleepy's awesome. So, everybody have a fabulous night. Happy Comic Book Sabbath. Winston, thank you again, and more than welcome on the show. And I'm looking forward to getting you on Comics by Night too. It's
Hell yeah.
fun.
Thank you.
So, cool. All right. Well, you guys know the drill as always. When I wrap up a show, I say keep it comics, and then I toss it to Mark to say,
Bagging and boarding's never boring.